Alright, so let us begin with today's session on Alan's keynotes. The remedy is Thuja. So, yesterday we discussed something about Miserium, which is very important remedy, especially in damp weather, the weather which is currently going on in the Indian subcontinent, and an extension of this remedy, its features, its qualities, the symptoms are more or less also visible in the main remedy, which we all know is Thuja. So we have our regular joinees, Dr. Rishabh, Dr. Priya Raju, Dr. Devika Suresh, and some more people. So good to see you. So I hope you have the Allen's keynotes with you and you are studying along with me. And if you don't have, there are many apps to refer. You can refer those apps if you have another device or laptop, so that you are well versed with what are the symptoms that are mentioned in the book and some of my notes and keynotes from my side as well as an addition or cases as an addition. So Thuja is exactly similar to all the conditions which are psychotic in nature, and this is just like sulfur, which is similar to or acts in cases where soric conditions are manifest, or mercury has its own relation to syphilis. Now, how will you understand what is psychotic case or what are the psychotic features? That is the primary thing. One thing is that your books will tell you, no doubt about it. You have the organon, you have the organon of medicine, you have the chronic diseases, etc. etc. But there is a very good book by Dr. Allen, which is the chronic miasms, and in this, he has given a description of all the different miasms in detail. It would be one of the source books I would recommend for you to refer if you need to understand the different miasms, the chronic miasms by Allen. It's a very thick book, and this was something which I read when I started my practice, and it is still there in my mind. For example, Thuja patients will have thick brows, they will have a thick nose, their lips will be very, very pulpy or very fluffy. So these are the small things that will make your observation more sharper, and your dependence on those observation features to prescribe the remedy. It's very important. You will see warts and all, that's very common, you will see that very clearly. But about the brows, about the nose, about the ears, the pinnae which are kind of like this, outside, these are all the psychotic features, and lot of details are given in the chronic miasms. If I get a chance sometime in future, I will compile it in a beautiful illustration and present it to you. But as of now, let's make do with what we have in the Allen's keynotes for Thuja. Thuja bears the same relation to psychosis of Henneman's fig warts, condylomata wart-like excrescences upon mucous surfaces that sulfur does to sora and mercury to syphilis, which is what I told you. And then we have ailments from vaccination. Now this is a very tricky modality. Many times you will not be able to pick it up in your clinic, because the cause to effect, the duration between the cause of inducing the vaccine to the effect which is shown by the patients may be variable in different patients. But if you can find out from your observation that before the vaccine, before inoculation, the problem was not there, then you have surety that it is ailments from vaccination. Believe me, this is going to be an opener for all the patients which are stuck up in different pathologies, in different functional cases. There are many other remedies we know on the skin. Yesterday we discussed about Miserium. There are other remedies which are Crotalus horridus, Melandrinum, Vaccininum, and Variolinum, which can be given in different presentations of ailments from vaccination. One of the interesting cases which Allen has mentioned for Variolinum, and I very well remember because I've read it so many times, that there was nephritis in a child, and that was cured because there was ailments from vaccination. So beautifully we can, if we can trace the cause, then it would become more easier for us to prescribe. So glad to see Dr. Snehal, Dr. Sharma, Shailendra.bfr, you are always there. Monica 0118, Ritz 6, and Neema Zalam, Dr. Sadia 24, someone named as Mohit Badigar. I think it's a spam on YouTube. Anyways, doesn't matter. I usually keep getting because the channel is becoming more popular now. So you have to understand the cause to effect, the duration, and something that has not happened before it, and it has happened only after that incident. That will make your surety in understanding ailments from bad effects of vaccination. Other remedies are Entimtart, Silica, and the 4-5 remedies which I mentioned. Entimtart is also very strongly indicated. Or there is ailments from in Thuja from suppressed or maltreated gonorrhea, which is the other remedy is Medorinum. Now, gonorrhea as a disease is non-existent right now, but there are some features of gonorrhea which have been passed on from the previous ancestors in one way or the other. It can be discharges, it can be something that is obnoxious, which is what Henneman also says. So you'll have to pick that up from different books and prescribe. Thuja is adapted to hydrogenide constitution of Gravogel, which is related to psychosis as effect is to cause. Now, to understand this, you just need a simple common sense. First, you just go and see the meaning of hydrogenide. When you understand the meaning of hydrogenide, it means that something that has to do around water bodies or people who are affected by water conditions around them. It can be damp weather, it can be water bodies, they are living near water bodies, it can be the weather conditions, it can be any of those things. So Thuja has its affinity to act in such cases which are affected by water bodies or damp conditions or such conditions which have the relation of water. They get aggravated by taking or ingesting water, the vegetables which are grown in water. That's also there. There is a rubric in Boric repertory which says that there is ailments from taking plants which are growing near water bodies. The only remedy is natrum sulph, and natrum sulph is a very strong acting antipsychotic medicine. So we proceed to understand how Thuja acts on different body parts, what are the symptoms, and from the Allen's keynotes we find that it acts on the lymphatic temperament, someone whose lymph, which is the excretion of the body, is stuck up or is not proper, not effective. In very fleshy persons, dark complexion, black hair, unhealthy skin. So if these lines have been mentioned in Allen's keynotes, you have to understand and pick it up from the cases when you see them, when you observe them. It can be a dark person, it can be a person who is having lymph node enlargements, it can be a person who feels that there are swellings in the axilla, in the inguinal region, in the abdomen. There are children who come to you with mesenteric lymph nodes. They will maybe require Thuja, Medorinum as an intercurrent, and this will open up the entire case because the lymph is where the problem is stuck up. If the lymph, which is the excretion of the body, is cleared, the whole system is cleared. That is why there is ailments from suppressed gonorrhea, that is a part of an extension. Now we don't see gonorrhea, but we see these cases where the lymph is not able to excrete, the waste materials are not able to excrete, which is why the problem starts. So we have a few new joinees, Dr. Aarti from Shillong and Dr. Jana Suthish, Bhushan Modak, my old friend from Other Song Academy, Dr. Attitudist. So glad to see you, and we'll continue with this journey of Thuja from Allen's keynotes. One of the keynotes of mind symptoms is that there are fixed ideas, as if a strange person besides him or her, as if soul and body were separated, as if living animal were in the abdomen, or being under the influence of a superior power. Now, these are just 4 or 5 conditions which are mentioned for fixed ideas. But fixed ideas, if you understand broadly, it will simplify your practice. How is it possible? Patient will tell you that I want only certain clothes to wear. If I wear something else, I will get aggravated. That is a fixed idea. Give me medicine in certain potency only. If I get more potency or lower potency, I'll get aggravated. That is fixed idea. So they are very sensitive. The fixed idea can be on the physical level, on the mental level, on the emotional level. I have attachment with only one person. Without him, I can't live. There is nothing else I see in my life. This is a kind of fixed attachment. It's a very strong psychotic, antipsychotic remedy which the patient needs. Next you have is insane woman who will not be touched or approached. So it's almost like a fixed idea which is bordering on insanity. And we saw this bordering on insanity very strongly in tuberculinum, bacillinum and syphilinum. Okay. So we have further the physical generals which are more prescriptive pointers. As I always say, you do not have to find mental symptoms in all the cases. Sometimes you will not get, it will just be one small symptom in the mental area and 10 symptoms in the physical generals. Your focus should be to bring everything together. Mostly the physicals will guide you to the remedy, especially in cases where the patients are not able to share anything more about their mind state or sensations which are deeper enough. Flesh feels beaten as if Flesh feels as if beaten from the bones, which is the same as phytolacca. If it is scraped feeling, it is rust ox. Chill beginning in the thighs. Sweat only on uncovered parts, all over except the head, which is reverse of silica. And when he sleeps, he sweats more, and the sweating stops when he wakes. So there is a kind of a comparison with sambucus and silica over here, which if you understand, it will make your life easier and you will be able to prescribe thuja, sambucus and silica where they are needed and not randomly. Thuja has aggravation of sweat only on the uncovered parts. When he sleeps, there is aggravation, and when he wakes, it stops. So, if you find this peculiarity, prescribe Thuja. If you find the reverse, which is that the sambucus is there, where there is perspiration throughout the day, but when he sleeps, there is dry heat. It can be a rise of temperature by 1 degree or just a dry heat, not feverish, but something which is bordering between normal temperature and 100. That can make your prescription for that can help you make prescription for sambucus. But especially in thuja and all the psychotic remedies, you will see that there is profuse sour smelling fetid sweat which is especially aggravated at night. So we have a new joinee also, the era of homeopathy. I don't know who you are, but glad to see you here. So we are continuing this journey of studying Allen's keynotes. From the 11th of June I have started. There are many groups of remedies or singular remedies depending upon the size of the remedies I have been taking it. Next you have is for thuja, perspiration which is smelling like honey on the genitals. Very rarely you will get this expression from the patients, but what you will get is very easy, something that is perspiration which is more on the folds or some hidden parts of the body which are smelly in nature and leaves a stain. That is a psychotic symptom. When walking, limbs feel as if made of wood. Now, no patient is going to come and tell you that my legs are made of wood. Please help me give thuja. What you will have is you will need to understand if the limbs are made of wood, how will the patient express? Sometimes the patient would tell that they pain a lot. There is kind of a sensitivity which kind of aggravates, least weather affects. Just like how the wood is affected in the least change of weather, especially the damp weather, similarly thuja will be affected in this way. Sensation as if body, as if the limbs, especially the limbs, were made of glass and would break easily. If there is a sensation in a particular person, for example, here you see that sensation as if limbs are made of glass, it means that the person is highly sensitive to least doses of medicine. It can be something that he takes for food or as a medicine or by the environment around, by the people around, and that is why he keeps a distance between him and others while doing certain activities. This can be one of the presentations. Suppressed gonorrhea causing articular rheumatism, prostatitis, psychosis, impotence, condylomata, and many constitutional troubles. So you have Thuja, which will not which will act on some cases which have more predisposition to getting their excretions affected. Lymphatics are affected, lymphatics are not drained correctly. That is where you should think of Thuja, and that is why that it happens to work mostly in cases where there is prostatitis, psychosis, and condylomata, which are overgrowths because there was no proper excretory system present in the body, or it was not effective. Now we come to the head. Vertigo when closing the eyes, very direct and interpretational symptom. Lachesis and theridion are the other two remedies. Headache as if a nail had been driven into the parietal bone. Coffea and ignatia are the other two remedies. So there is a pain in a single spot. If you understand this type of pain, your job to prescribe remedies become easier. Kali bichromicum, oxalic acid, coffea, ignatia, thuja, pain in single spot. It's like a fixed idea. It's like a pain which is concentrated on just one particular part of the body, and this is more like a psychotic symptom. All the disease is focused on only one part of the body. It can be one organ only, spleen or liver, which has been affected through and through the life of the patient. It can be one of the psychotic manifestations. As if a convex button were pressed on the part, and aggravated from sexual excesses, overheating, and from tea. The other remedy given is selenium, chronic or psychotic or syphilitic origin, white scaly dandruff, hair dry and falling out, eyes which are having the conditions of ophthalmia neonatorum, psychotic or syphilitic, large granulations like warts or blisters, better by warmth and covering. If uncovered, feels as if cold stream were of air were blowing out through them. So these are direct symptoms. I need not elaborate them. Eyelids are agglutinated at night, dry, scaly on the edges. Styes and tarsal tumors. We saw this situation also in argentum nitricum. Argentum nitricum is another very strong psychotic remedy. It is psychosyphilitic in nature. It has fixed ideas and also is restless and kind of a syphilitic in nature because it wants to get things done in a hurry and also lot of things in too short time. So for Thuja, it is eyelids which are affected, a lot of areas in eyes, especially the tumors, the thick hard knots like small condylomata, and after staphysagria which partially ameliorates but does not cure. Ears, there is chronic otitis, discharge is purulent like putrid meat, granulations, condylomata, polypi, pale red, cellular, bleeding easily. So there are direct interpretational symptoms. Sometimes you'll get it from the patient. Need not think over it more elaborately. Thuja is also there in chronic catarrh. So those patients who have chronic otitis media, you should think of Thuja. The first line of treatment which you should go for is Kali bichromicum, Kali sulf, or Kali mure. And the second line, which is something that has extended for a long time, you should think of giving them, which is Thuja or Mesothelium or Hepar sulf or sulfur. So chronic catarrh after exanthemata, thick green mucus, blood and pus. The other remedy is pulsatilla, which I already shared. Teeth decay at the roots, crown remains sound, which is the case with Mesothelium also. If it is on the edges, the remedy is Staphysagrina. Teeth crumble and turn yellow, which is very rarely you will see. It is especially present in patients who have taken some allopathic medications. The other remedy being syphilinum. There is ranula, which is an ulcer or tumorous growth under the tongue, or lot of collection of varicosities under the tongue. Bluish or varicose veins on the tongue or in the mouth, which is also what we saw in Umbra grigia. Toothache from tea drinking. On blowing the nose, a pressing sensation remains in the hollow tooth or on the side of it, which is also cured by Bonimosan. In gastrointestinal system, you will see that there is constipation, violent pains in the rectum. They compel cessation of effort. Stool recedes after partly being expelled. So many remedies that you come across which tell you, many patients, that they tell you that there is stool which goes out partially and comes back. You should think of Thuja, Magmure, Sanicula, Silica. Piles are swollen, pains are most severe when sitting. Diarrhea, which is there early morning, expelled forcibly with much flatus. Aloes is one of the top remedies, very strongly related with sulfur and Thuja. The diarrhea is gurgling as of a water from a bunghole. Now, what is a bunghole? You need to understand that. And if you understand bunghole, something that is a watertight container which is filled to the brim. Once that is, having an outlet and it is released, the water ejaculates in a full force of stream. That is how the Thuja patient will tell you that there is diarrhea. This is also similar to Croton tig, and Croton tig, Gambogia and Thuja can be indicated in such cases where there is diarrhea as of passing through a bunghole. It's in a one shot. Aggravated after breakfast is very strong for Thuja, also the same for natrum sulf. Aggravated after coffee, fat food, vaccination, onions. Anus is fissured, painful to touch, surrounded with flat warts or moist mucous condylomata. So all the patients that you have which are having fissures, they should be given Thuja as an intercurrent remedy. My line of treatment is to give the indicated medicine in fissures and give Thuja every 15 days, one dose. This will kind of fill in the fissured areas and give relief to the patient in the physical areas also. Sensation after urinating as if urine trickling in the urethra remained. Severe cutting at the close of urination. So many patients who have cystitis and recurrent UTIs, they will have this sensation. You will think of giving other remedies, give Thuja, it will kind of clear the condition. Also similar cases there in sarsaparilla. In female reproductive system, we have abdomen as if animal were crying, motion as if something alive protrudes here and there like the arm of a fetus. Crocus, Nux mostat and sulfur are very strongly indicated. It's a fixed idea basically that the patient has a feeling that there is something which is moving in the abdomen, disturbing my already existing body parts. That is where the feeling sets in and gives the patient a feeling that it can be gas, it can be something that is harmless, but the patient feels that it is something that is bothering me. That's where you should think of Thuja. Distressing burning pain in the left ovarian region when walking or riding. Must sit or lie down. So all the cases of pelvic inflammatory disease or PCOD, will require Thuja or Lilium tigrinum or Medorinum as an intercurrent. If you think of prescribing and curing these cases, you will need to keep these remedies in mind. Other remedy which has very similar symptom of left ovarian pain is crocus and ustilago. It is worse or aggravated at each menstrual period. The pain in the left ovarian region is aggravated at each menstrual cycle. Patients who have aversion to coition because of the extreme sensitiveness of the vagina, think of Thuja. Other remedy is also platina. But if on cross questioning and examining, if you feel that there is more of a dryness which the patient complains, think of Lyco, Lycinum and Natramure. In the skin of Thuja, this is something that you will observe very strongly. There is dirty brownish or brownish white skin, dark complexion patient we discussed in the early part of this session. But there are a lot of warts, and you will see warts hanging from different parts of the body. It can be neck, it can be face, it can be back, it can be legs, it can be hands, anywhere. Think of Thuja as an intercurrent, if not as a constitutional remedy. Other remedy also being very close is Staphysaria. Eruptions only on covered parts, burn after scratching. So you have something similar to sulfur. Nails are deformed and brittle, the other remedy being antimcrude. And that is why we have antimcrude as an extension of Thuja, where there are a lot of skin troubles. We often ignore antimcrude in such cases of skin issues, but if we get a chance to prescribe, especially in cases of impetigo, psoriasis, and all these deeper and malfiguring, disfiguring eczemas, think of antimcrude, also one of the top remedies, along with Thuja as an intercurrent. Coming to an end of today's session, we have modalities. The Thuja patient will get aggravated at night from heat of bed at 3 a.m., 3 p.m. From cold, damp air. Damp weather is a very strong aggravation factor. From narcotics. And when you see the relationships of Thuja, it's mentioned that Medorinum, Sabina and Silica are very strongly related to it. You can also compare Thuja with Cannabis sativa, which is a very good remedy which works on cystitis or bladder cystitis cases. Cantharis, again similar remedy, Copaiba and Staphysaria. Cinnabaris is preferable for warts on the prepuce and follows well. Thuja as a remedy follows well Medorinum, Merc and nitric acid. So all those cases where we have given Medorinum, we have given Mercsol, there is a trait of psychosis which remains after curing those parts of the patient which needed those remedies, Medorinum, Mercsol or nitric acid. We can think of Thuja as a remedy. In all the patients, you will need to give a round of antipsychotic, antipsoric and antisyphilitic medicines. When to give which remedy is purely dependent on the cases. It is not predefined, but what is predefined is that you should take the case properly, you should analyze properly, and you should refer the right books. So in this way you can come to an analysis of when to give Thuja as a remedy. Okay, so we come to an end of today's session, and it was a big remedy we covered. So maybe in couple of days we will start taking 2 to 3 remedies at a stretch. But as of now, for today's session, this is enough. And if anyone wants to join my workshops, there are all the details available. And by tonight, which is 4 hours from now, 9:30 p.m., we'll discuss something about fevers. What are your queries and how homeopathy can help the homeopathic practitioners to understand how and what to prescribe in fevers. It's a free of cost session I'm doing for 10 minutes. Do join if you wish to answer your questions. It is a kind of an FQA session, which is fever questions answered. rather than frequently asked questions, which is normally FAQ. So we'll see in the evening, and as of now, goodbye to everyone. सो डॉक्टर शैलेश कुमार, प्लीज़ शेयर फीवर सिम्टम्स ऑफ तुजा. तो आप रात को आइए 9:30 बजे ऑनलाइन ऑन यूट्यूब और इंस्टाग्राम, एंड मे बी आई विल शेयर अ फ्यू सिम्टम्स, नो डाउट अबाउट इट.